He kōna I purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Like, for example, this is the SIS, this is the mass of the obliques, I should have the navel here, this is my pubic bone, and then this is my rectus abdominis and my fatty pad on top, and here I have the floating ribs, and then I have the 8th rib, and all this is a map that I need to make sure that I don't lose track of.
A class in human anatomy? Not quite, but close. I'm in what used to be the old television studios Avalon in Lower Hutt, where I've been invited to check out the quote-unquote glorious mess of a master sculptor, Spain-born Javier Murcia.
This is the small office that I sealed it, so I put a roof. There was no roof before.
There was no roof over this.
There was no roof before. Avalon Studios is a very old building, as you know. So they built it, I think, in the 60s or something. This is the real studio, you know?
Yeah.
This is where the magic happens, right?
In this
is what you can relate to the image of an artist, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'd say.
It's a beautiful mess. Well, ideally I want all this clean and so, but I don't have time, you know?
Between recording his 5-hour-long full render sessions of his online sculpting workshops to casting hundreds of his signature figurative pieces, Javier is up against time, and that's nothing new. A scan around his studio and it's easy to see how prolific this artist has been. He's best known for his figurative sculpture, testimony to his acute understanding of the complexities of the human body and movement, from poses to the proportion.
And it has to look like the model, and it has, at the end, when I finish, it has to all look natural and flow, and it should have the flow and the energy. The figure itself, apart of giving you an aesthetic, it also gives you more than that, which is if you want to tackle it from the art perspective, you can actually talk about the philosophy of it, what's behind. That's why you can fall into abstraction or things like that, where it's still a figure, but it's completely deformed or distorted into something more, I don't know, geometric or something like that. But it's still a figure, isn't it?
I'm Kadambari Raghukumar, and this is Here Now.
Art has that power, which pushes you to look at the world in a completely different way and translate that into a language that is very personal at the end of the day.
Javier Murcia was born in Spain and moved to New Zealand to explore work in film studios. It's been a journey, and we're coming to all of that shortly. But first, why the obsession with the human form?
My dad was a physiotherapist, so I had all sort of books of anatomy around. And plus, you know, his knowledge and interest. So he was always talking to me about how, you know, the body works and what's inside. And
so you grew up with a fascination for physiology and anatomy.
Basically, yes. And then, well, funny enough, I got interested in art. And I could apply it to the art, you know, to the art side, artistic side.
How much of that do you actually apply in figurative sculpture?
To me, it's interesting, the anatomy, because of my background, because of my interest in the human figure as a machine, as a natural machine that nature created. And because I started really early, I am farther up in the ladder to be able to use that knowledge and apply it to an art, which is this one, the sculpture, in a, hopefully, if I'm lucky, in a masterful way, you know? And it's not only fun, it's also an opportunity for me. You know, not everyone have that opportunity, you know, so I see it that way. It's like, it's an honor to have that kind of a chance.
There's sometimes a sense that figurative sculpting is more relatable the more realistic it is to the real human form. But that's not always the case, Javier says. Whether distorted or keeping with reality, it's a language that's unique to the maker.
If you look at the artists in history, some of the most famous ones, let's say Picasso, Dali, or whatever in that area, where they broke the traditional way of looking at the things. There you see that personal way of looking at the world applied to their work, and the world, because they were who they were, which is geniuses. The world accepts that as another extension of the human capacity to bend the understanding of what's in front of you.
You've lived and traveled all across the world. You were born and raised in Spain, and you've been in New Zealand for a few years. How has that sort of influenced some of your work?
I grew up in the Canary Islands. It's a very nice place to be, actually. Nice weather.
I wonder what you're doing here in Wellington then.
Everyone asks me that. And I don't have an answer for that. I'm very happy here though. This is a wonderful place to be. My experience here in New Zealand, it's divided in two parts. One is my professional background into the movie industry, which is the time that I spent at Weta, working there. And then the time after Weta, where I got detached from the movie industry and I started to experience, New Zealand. If I look at it from the movie industry perspective, there is a huge influence. Working at Weta, you are inside of a bubble. An amazing bubble, because you have the opportunity to work with a very high-profile artists, very high-quality work, and that pushes your skills, and you have the chance to work in a project that only in this company you have that chance. I was there. I love it. I enjoy that, but I am where I want to be. And what I want to do is, live a life where I can have the opportunity of pushing myself and my skills to where they can take me.
Much of that exploration these days is a newer collection that plays with enamel, sand, epoxy resin, and is a diametric move away from the human form. He calls it mati, or matter and time, and they're these large, intriguing, circular pieces of illuminated work.
It's completely a world away from what seems to be a world away from what you might otherwise.
Yes, completely.
Yeah. What made you go down that path?
So it's exploring the possibilities of what I can do. The figurative sculpture is very limiting in the sense that you need to go through a lot of rules, and it's more difficult because there are rules, and it's also but very difficult because you have to face the market. You need to find a market for it. That's one thing. Another thing is that it's expensive to produce because you need to make molds, you need to cast, and so and so. And the other thing is that you are always doing a figure. There's no way you can't do a figure if you are doing figurative work. And I love it. But sometimes I want to do something else. I was needing to find something in a sculpture I could feel my artistic side fulfilled.
Before I set off leaving him to his packed day, there's a couple of things more that I really need to dig into. I'm always curious about what artists like Javier make of contemporary expressions of art.
Coming from a background of figurative art and looking at the contemporary art nowadays, if you haven't studied art, you would reject, most likely, the contemporary art because of a lack of understanding. What I can see in the contemporary art these days is that, to me, it's very interesting in many ways, and it's thought-provoking. I tell you, many times I don't even understand what I'm looking at. But my point here is that nowadays they shouldn't call it art. They should call it visual philosophy, because it is so difficult to understand many times so intellectual, so mental. There is no visual part of it that is enjoyable in many cases. It's very interesting. It gives a lot to talk about, but visually it's not interesting. When you put, I don't know, a piece of wood on top of a brick, and they call that art, and the idea behind could be very interesting. But that's what I say. Like, okay, well, that's good, but to me, it's farther away from art than it is from philosophy. So you could call it visual philosophy, and yeah, then I get it. There is something there that it creates friction in my head, you know? But maybe I don't think it's just me, honestly.
If it weren't for sculpture, what other form of art do you think you would take most naturally to?
Because you could do any kind of art that is not intuitive, you know? But if it is intuitive, and I could actually get to the point where I am with the figurative sculpture, it would be music. But that's impossible. It's completely impossible.
Why?
First, because I don't have the skill for music. There is a thing I tried once. I never learned music before, but I decided to learn one day, just out of the blue. Starting at my 30, I don't know where it was, 35 or something. I was terrible. I didn't have any sensibility. You know, I had to learn, you know, how soft you should play to get the, you know, the best.
There is hope. There is hope. You never know.
No, there is methodology, not hope. It's different. I could see, you know, the big slope, and I said, "Oh, this is not for me."
Stick to sculpture.
I'll stick to sculpture.
Javier Murcia talking to me from his studio in Lower Hutt. My name is Kadambari Raghukumar, and every week I bring you stories from all around New Zealand featuring people from all around the world. Catch more episodes of Here Now on all your favourite podcast platforms and the RNZ website as well. Today's episode was mixed by Rangi Poik, and my name is Kadambari Raghukumar. Thanks for listening.